you've ever watched resellers talk about listing daily and you've wondered how that actually happens in real life, this video is for you. Here's the thing. Resellers are like snowflakes. No two are the same. Our processes depend on how much time we have, how much space we're working with, the amount of inventory we carry, and what we sell. So this isn't really a this is how you should list kind of video. This is how I list video. Take what's helpful, leave what's not, and adapt it to your own business. If you're new here, over 90% of my inventory is clothing, and I sell across 3 different platforms, including eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. In this video, I'm taking you behind the scenes of my real day-to-day listing process from start to finish. And if you enjoy reselling content, please consider subscribing. If you've spent any time in reseller spaces online, you've probably heard the advice, list daily. And honestly, it's some of the most consistent advice for a reason. When you're sourcing items people actually want, listing daily is one of the most reliable ways to increase sales. Most selling platforms reward active sellers because at the end of the day, they're businesses. Sellers who consistently list new items generate more traffic, more sales, and more money for the platform. So activity gets rewarded, and it really is that simple. Even though there are honestly endless ways to list inventory, I've found that most listing styles fall into 2 different categories. The first is listing everything start to finish in one sitting. I'm talking photographing, listing, and publishing all in the same day. And the second is batch listing. My schedule, batch listing works way better for me. I take 1 full day a week, sometimes every 2 weeks, and photograph as many clothing pieces as I possibly can in the time that I have. By the end of that day, I'll have hundreds of photos sitting in my camera roll, ready to be listed little by little each day when I come into my office. Once I run out, that's my cue. It's time to start batch photographing again. I'm gonna break this video into 2 parts. The first is gonna be how I actually photograph each piece and what I do with it afterwards. And the second will be what I do every morning first thing when I come into my office and sit down at my desk, which is listing 3 things a day, and how exactly I do that. Now, I learned my batch photographing method from Resellers Edge University using a method called the Ohio method, which is an acronym that stands for only handle it once. Before I had a SKU system, I used to literally take a photo of the item, set it aside, move on to the next one, add it to the pile, and then by the end I'd have just like a pile of clothes. And then I would sit down at my desk and grab each item from the pile and start drafting my listings and then add it to another pile. And then by the time I was done with that, I would take the pile and put it in a marked bin. And then when I sold the item, I had to pull it out again, fold it, put it in a poly bag, and then pack and ship it. So I was literally handling the item, touching the item 4 different times. With the Ohio method, you only handle each item 1 time. And then when you sell that item, the only thing that needs to be done is you're pulling it out, packing, and shipping it. That's it. It should already be folded, already be done. That's the Ohio method. As I mentioned, I learned that from Resellers Edge University. And if you're unfamiliar with REU, it's a mentorship program for clothing resellers. And I have learned so much from them since I joined. If you're a clothing reseller at all, whether you just started or have been doing it for years, REU will help you refine your skills and coach you through any roadblocks you might have. They have tons of courses and daily live coaching calls that cover various topics like the Ohio method, for example, or how to source a certain style of clothing. And they even have really cool calls where you can actually share your store with the coaches and they will tell you exactly what to refine to increase your sales. They also have possibly the largest Bolo brand list on the internet that you can scroll through and burn these brands and these brand tags into your memory so that when you're outsourcing, you can find those big ROI items. I've mentioned before too that the members only Facebook page is possibly my favorite place to hang out. Not even just the coaches being able to respond to your inquiries, but all of the members on there are also extremely helpful, and it just feels like a really awesome community. As a member and a partner of REU, with the link in my description and using the code TaylorJoe, you can get 50% off your first month of REU. So I'll see you guys in the live calls and the Facebook page. Okay, so I'm gonna demonstrate exactly how I photograph my listings, and I'm gonna use a pair of jeans because jeans are my absolute favorite thing to photograph. It's just so easy. So this is a pair pair of Judy Blue jeans, which is a great brand to pick up as long as you've got a style that suits the trends that are going on right now. And for this portion of the video, you're gonna pretend that this hard drive is my phone because I'm using my phone to film this video, so I can't actually show you that. So as you guys can tell in my intro, I set up this photo table, and this is not something that every reseller has, but most resellers that sell clothing have something similar. So this is literally a giant 4x4 piece of plywood covered in a fleece gray blanket. Gray is a really, really good background for clothing. You can really see the colors pop on clothing when you use a gray background. And the reason that it is fleece is because it keeps the clothing sticking on here. Rather than just like painting the plywood gray, this would probably just slip off of there. It sticks. Every piece of clothing sticks on here. And if it's a piece of clothing like a windbreaker or something that's really slippery, all I have to do is adjust this table up just a little bit and the piece of clothing will stay on there. This photo table is attached to the wall, and I just fold the leg up underneath it and fold it against the wall. My dad built this for me. So you'll also notice here I've got this photo light, and this one is in my description. It's always in like my Amazon referral links. So you can buy one of these if you want to. You probably already know this, but you do need good lighting to take photos of any of your inventory. The other piece of equipment I'm gonna use is this $2 yardstick, and that is so that I can take photos of the measurements of this clothing item. If you sell clothing, you're going to want to have photos of the measurements of the clothing item in your listing. If not, have a photo that says what the measurements are. Otherwise, you're gonna get a ton of messages. What is the measurement? What is the pit to pit? What's the inseam? Blah, blah, whatever, because people do not read the freaking descriptions. So when it comes to clothing items, the first photo I'm gonna take is the photo that everyone is going to see when they are scrolling and searching for the clothing item on eBay. So obviously the front of the item, and I'm gonna go ahead and just snap a photo of that with my fake hard drive phone thing. Normally the second photo I have in the listing is of the back of the jeans, but because we are already facing the front and I know I can move the pictures around once I get it on the listing, we're gonna continue taking photos of the front of the jeans. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these down. I'm gonna kind of fix my fleece there a little bit. And I'm gonna take a photo of the tag that is on the inside of the jeans that shows the brand and the size. Click, making sure that it's in good lighting, making sure the photo is in focus, and most importantly, when you take photos, you want them to be in a 1-to-1 ratio because every platform uses square photos. So make sure that your phone or whatever device you're using to take pictures of your items with is at a 1-to-1 ratio. And then next, with jeans especially, I take the measuring stick and I put it on the waist, and I take a photo of the waist measurement. On items that are too big for me to back up to show the entire yardstick, because it'll be just a little bit too far away, I will actually kind of come to the side here, and I'll show a picture of this on the video, and take a photo of the edge from an angle so that you can see the last number and you can see that it's going all the way across the waist. The next photo I'm gonna take is of the rise of the jeans. So I'm gonna look this up just a little bit, make sure that my yardstick is right at the top of the jeans there. And then I usually pull the legs aside because you wanna find that seam that is literally right here. And you wanna make sure you're getting the entire inseam from top to bottom. And then next I will pull these back up and I take a picture of the inseam. And I don't take a picture of the entire thing. Most people, when they're looking at pictures of jeans, can understand that when you've got a picture of the bottom of the jeans here and it says 32 inches, that means that is the inseam. I also include the inseam in the description of my listings. When I am done with that, now is when I flip the jeans over and I take pictures of the back of the jeans. Now, these jeans are a really, really good example for this video because these jeans actually do have a flaw on them. On the back pocket here, there is a hole. Now, what I do for this is I make sure to take a picture of the flaw, but I will actually use my Apple Pencil because it's white and it's a pointer, and I will set it right here so that it's pointing at the flaw, and I will snap a photo. You can use your fingers if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think some people get really turned off by having like fingers in the photos of the listings. You can use a ballpoint pen, you can use a Post-it note, you can use anything. Like a lot of people get really creative with pointing out flaws, but you definitely don't just want to take a picture of the flaw without pointing directly to what it is, because sometimes people are going to be like, oh, it's a picture of the back pocket, and not actually see the flaw. And also, obviously, make sure you point out the flaw in the description of the listing as well. Now that I'm done taking photos of the jeans, I'm gonna bring them over to my folding table. Okay, so my packing table, this is also my shipping table, is on the opposite side of the room. It's just a 6-foot folding table. This office is pretty small. Jeans are super easy to fold, so it's just like this. And then I fold it in half and in thirds. That gives me a nice little piece of clothing there. The next thing I do is I have a 3-drawer thing down here. I don't think you can see it. Let me show. Right here, 3 drawers, 1, 2, 3. In the middle drawer, I have clear poly mailers. So I will put the clothing item inside a poly mailer. And then in the bottom drawer, I have SKU bags. Now, I have a reusable SKU system, so once I sell an item, I take it out of the SKU bag and I put it in the bottom drawer. So whatever one's on the top is what I grab for the next item that I list. So this one's gonna be C15. So I will stuff the item in the C15 bag. And this one is too big, it's not gonna close, but that's totally fine. The purpose of this bag is just to mark it as C15, basically. And then I'm gonna take my scale, turn it on, and if I have any notes about an item, what I'll do is I'll write it on this little sticky note, on one of these little tiny sticky notes, so that when I'm taking a photo, I can remember for later what notes that I need to make about this item. So what I write on this Post-it note is the date I purchased the item, how much it cost, and where I sourced it from. And this will help me when I am listing the item to record it into my spreadsheet. I record all of that information in my spreadsheet. So I'm gonna put this little Post-it note just on the side of my scale there. I'm gonna put the item on the scale, and then I'm gonna take my fake phone and snap a picture. And it doesn't have to be perfect because this is literally just for your records. So I'm gonna see several pictures of these jeans, and then the last photo is gonna be this photo, and this photo is gonna help me remember what the weight was of the item, what day I bought it, how much it cost, where I got it from, and where it is stored in my inventory. Now that I'm done with this, I'm gonna set this aside. I usually just set it in like a bin or just off to the side. And I'm gonna move on to the next item and do the exact same thing. So I just repeat this exact process over and over and over again until either I've got no clothing items left to photograph or I'm out of time. Once I'm done photographing stuff for the day, I will take the pile of these, which they'll, at the end of the day, at the end of photographing, there will be, I don't even know, maybe 30 or something of these, and I will put them in my garage where my inventory is stored. If you're curious to know what my inventory looks like, I will go ahead and show you. Okay, so this is my inventory, and I've got my ladder set up from when I needed something from the top, but I've got bin A, B, C, and then I got some boxes kind of in the middle there because no bins fit on that shelf. D, E, F, random bins for other things, G, H, I, and then on another shelf I have J and K, and we're just kind of keeping going as I expand my inventory. But that's basically what it looks like. And yes, the bins in the middle are upside down. They just fit better on the shelf that way. So when I am done with that, when I am done photographing listings, I will take them out here and put them away. All right, so it has been about a week since I filmed that first portion of the video, and that's actually pretty accurate for me because I had enough photos backlogged of inventory that I was able to list 3 things a day and not run out of things to post. So now it is time for me to list those jeans. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm going to record my screen. This is actually my second time filming this portion of the video because the first time I forgot to hit record on my screen recording. So hopefully this time around it'll be better. It's important to note that I have the Apple ecosystem. So when I take photos on my iPhone, they do automatically end up in my computer like 24 hours later. However, eBay will not allow me to click and drag my photos from my camera roll to eBay. There is some sort of issue with that. It says it's like too many pixels or something. So I do have to do one minor step before I upload my photos to eBay. And that is this right here. I need to take the photos from my camera roll. So I'm gonna click on the first photo, and I'm gonna hold down Shift, click on the last photo, and then I'm gonna click and drag the photos into my desktop. Now it's gonna take like a couple seconds for that, and now it is officially in my computer. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the create an item page on eBay, and I'm gonna go ahead and type in the title for these jeans. We're gonna say Judy Blue flare jeans. We're gonna say women's 18W because that is the size. We're gonna say high-waisted raw hem. And then I'm gonna go with some kind of like keywords that we can use, which would be like comfort and stretch, because that's what these are known for. Next up, we're going to select the condition of these jeans. As you guys know from before, these jeans did have a flaw, so I cannot call them pre-owned excellent, but I'm gonna call them pre-owned good because they're gently used and they do have visible flaws. So I'm gonna hit continue. And then this is the section that I'm going to drag and drop the photos in, and you want to drag and drop these photos in first. And the reason you want to do that, I'm going to just do this right here, is because eBay has this new feature where when you drag and drop the photos in, it's going to check out your photos. And if you scroll down a little bit, right here in item specifics, it already has as many item specifics as it could pull from your photos for you to just check the box instead of having to go through every single one of these drop downs and finding the correct answer. And that saves so much time. So even though eBay decided to screw us over this year with the stupid promoted listings thing, they did make this, which saves small business owners a lot of time. So I am grateful for that at least. All right, what I'm noticing here is that I've got a few characters left for the title. So I'm gonna just throw in Y2K since the flare jeans have a little bit of a Y2K vibe there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy and paste this title into my ChatGPT. And if you guys are not using AI to make your descriptions for you, why aren't you? It takes 5 seconds and you can literally tell ChatGPT exactly how you want your description to sound. So I've kind of played around with descriptions a lot. I've made a lot of changes to my descriptions, kind of just seeing what works. Right now, I'm testing out a description that people might actually read. So before I had descriptions that I knew people wouldn't read and I was trying to like use that to my advantage. But now that I post on Poshmark and Depop where people tend to actually read the descriptions, I am using a description format that people might actually be able to read and keep it very simple. So as you can see here, my ChatGPT created a little description for me that shows very easily the brand, the size, the fit, the material, blah, 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 blah. And some of these I will change, I will tweak it just a little bit in the description. So I'm gonna go back to the description here. I'm gonna copy and paste the title because you want the title to be the first thing in your description. I'm gonna tab down a couple and then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the ChatGPT description. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna change the material to cotton blend, and then I'll be changing the condition there in just a moment. So scrolling back up, I want to make sure that the back of the jeans is the second photo. I'm going to take the first photo and use the white background feature on eBay. That's what that little guy is there. It takes a few seconds for that to load. I'm going to hit save and then I'm going to go next and I'm going to use the white background on the back of the jeans as well. I don't always use the white background on the back of the jeans. The reason I'm doing it on this one is just because it's a little imperfect. So I'm going to hit save on that. I'm going to hit done, make sure the rest of my photos are good. They look great. And then I'm going to fill in the SKU number, which if you forget, I can go back to my photos. I can open up this picture if you guys remember. And we know that it is C15. And then I'm going to keep that weight in mind there. It is 1 pound and we're going to say 13 ounces because you always want to round up. So we're going to put C15 in the SKU. And if you cannot see this on your eBay create a listing section, go to see title options here and you just need to toggle it on and you'll see that. So, whoops, it deleted, so I'm gonna re-add that. All right, now is the part where we are gonna go in and I'm gonna select every single one of these that are accurate. So, yep, we're Judy Blue, yep, we're flared, yep, we're blue, machine washable, solid, all 4 seasons, stretch and comfort. We do not have a button accent, so I'm gonna skip that one. Denim, not handmade, not personalizable, not vintage. Size is correct. Zip button correct. Regular fit. Cotton material. 5 pocket design. Sounds good. All right, and then next we're gonna scroll down and I'm gonna fill in the ones that weren't filled in. UPC, there is none. Fabric wash medium. Waist size, we're gonna put 34 because it was a 17-inch waist on the photos. If you forget, you can just go up and you can click on the photo. So we've got 17 inches here. 17 plus 17 is 34. So that's what we're gonna put there. We don't really have any accents on these jeans, so I'm gonna skip that part. We know that the rise is high. We know that the inseam was around 32. And again, if you forget, you can come back up here and look at the photo. We're around 32 inches. Scroll back down. We don't really have a theme going here, but the suggested themes definitely work here. Bohemian and city are totally fine for jeans. Obviously, it's not animals or army or geek or Hawaiian or anything like that, so we're just gonna leave those. Model, I have no idea. Product line, I have no idea. If you don't know, just don't fill it in. It's better to be blank than wrong. And then right here is the important part, is the item condition. We know that these jeans have a ripped seam in the back right pocket, so we are going to put that as the first line in the condition description. Ripped seam in back right pocket. And then I always put otherwise in great pre-loved condition, and I always say, please see photos. And then I'm gonna copy that. And if you guys wanna know how to copy and paste really fast, it's literally just Control C for copy and then Control V for paste, and I use that all day long. So I'm gonna put that in the condition down here, paste. I'm also gonna take out please see photos because it already says that on the next line there. And then for pricing, I already looked up what Judy Blue flare jeans are selling for. It looks like used, they're going for anywhere between like $22 to $25. So you definitely want to research that, sold and not sold comps. So because these have a flaw, I am going to list them for $24.99. If they didn't have a flaw, I usually list them a little bit higher than what everyone else is selling them for, so that when someone likes the item or watches the item, I can offer them a discount. And that seems to work really well for me, actually. So we're going to leave those at $24.99. Obviously the quantity is 1. We want to buy it now. Payment policy is already automatically loaded in there. I do not do the auto price reduction. I'm not interested in that. I always allow offers because why not? And then the shipping is where things might get a little bit interesting. So if I open this up, for me, these top 4 are shipping policies that I created myself. They are flat rate policies, so you can check those out. I do, you know, $4.95 for 0 to 8 ounces, $5.95 for 9 ounces to about a pound, and so on. The rest of these are created by eBay, and I don't use any of them. So this product is between 1 and 2 pounds. We know it was 1 pound and 13 ounces from our picture with our scale. So we're gonna put that in there. And then for jeans, I usually do like 10 by 10 by 4. That part really isn't that serious. Just make sure that it's not like 1 by 1 by 1 or something like that. Because when you go to print the label, you're gonna be able to change that, especially if you're using flat rate shipping. So, all right, the last thing I'm gonna do is scroll back up and just make sure that like the photos and everything are okay, the title's okay. We've got most of our stuff filled out here. And then I'm going to hit list it. All right, and then this is where I'm going to copy the title again. It's just an easy place to copy the title. Hit done. And I'm gonna go to my Excel spreadsheet. Now, the Excel spreadsheet is, it's actually a Google Sheet spreadsheet because that's free, is something that I just do personally for my own business for tax purposes. So this is something that you'll have to create on your own if it's something you want to do. My husband actually made ours, but I record everything that I spend on inventory, everything that I spend on shipping, everything that I spend on everything, basically travel, all of that. But my spreadsheet is really complicated to understand, and I wouldn't recommend copying my spreadsheet because it only makes sense to like me and my husband. Like if you looked at it, you'd be like, what the freaking frick? But this screen is really easy to understand. So I will show you guys this screen. So this is basically my item list. I have every single item that I've ever purchased for resale in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this in the last line. I'm going to hit paste, and then we're going to put the location. This is another reason the Excel spreadsheet helps me. If I screwed something up with the SKUs in the eBay or in Vendu or something like that, I can just look in here and see where the item is. We're gonna put clothing because it's a clothing item. I bought this at the bins, as we remember from our photo here. I bought it at the bins, and I bought it on November 28th, 2025 for $1.35. So we're gonna enter that in. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Vendoo. Now, Vendoo is the platform that I use to cross-list from eBay to Poshmark and Depop. And there's a lot of cross-listing services out there. I find Vendoo to be the most user-friendly, and I'm also able to cross-list things to Whatnot, which other platforms don't have that capability. So Vendoo is my platform of choice. So what we're gonna do on here is we're gonna click the import button, and it's automatically going to grab those jeans from eBay. I'm gonna hit get latest eBay items. Sometimes this takes like 5 seconds and sometimes it takes longer. So if it does take longer, I will move on to something else. It's taking longer right now, so I'll just explain that I don't actually list one item at a time and then import it. I will list 3 items on eBay and then I will import all 3 items at the same time. And then I will cross list all 3 items. All right, so it looks like the Judy blue jeans just popped up. So we're gonna go ahead and select them. We're gonna hit import. Give that a second to import, and that usually only takes a couple seconds. There we go. And then we're gonna go to our inventory. We're gonna select the jeans. And then we have the Vendoo form. So this is the Vendoo form. The Vendoo form is what you fill out. It'll help you cross-list to the other platforms. So it's got a lot of information on here that most of the other platforms do have. So it's got the title, the description, the brand, the condition, primary and secondary color. You can also fill in tags. So tags are like a Poshmark and an eBay thing. So I'm gonna put Judy blue jeans. I'm gonna put Y2K for maybe like a style reference. I'm gonna put raw hem. Jeans are kind of a hard one with style aesthetics, but that's just what we're gonna do for now. And then I'm gonna scroll down and I'm gonna give it the label of clothing and shoes. So it has all these other things in it, like what category it belongs in. It's got the size, it's got the weight, it's got the dimensions, it's got everything. You can put cost of goods if you want. I don't use Vendoo. Again, I use my spreadsheet in order to record cost of goods, so I don't use that feature. And then I'm gonna hit save. And then, as you can see on the marketplace forms section, we are already listed on eBay. So we're gonna click Poshmark. By the way, you'll see Vinted here. I don't use Vinted. I don't know why it's still on there, but so now we're on the Poshmark form. As you can see on the top here, Poshmark form. And it's got all of the same things, except this is incorrect. So the category, for some reason on Poshmark, the category almost is always incorrect and I have to fix it. So I go from straight leg to flare and wide leg, and then we have to re-input the size. So we're gonna put 18W. And then original price is something that Poshmark always requests. It's obviously not something that is requested on any other platform. If you don't know the original price or don't care to research it, because that takes time, you just put 0. So I'm just gonna put 0 there, and it won't show up as the original price was 0. It just doesn't show up at all. So then we're gonna scroll down. It's got the listing price. I'm not gonna discount shipping. We have the SKU in there. Again, the cost I don't really care about. We're gonna hit save. And if you guys do use Vendoo, always, if you change anything on any of the forms in your Vendoo, always scroll down and hit save before you move on and do anything else. Save, and then we're gonna list on Poshmark. And then boom, it's listing on Poshmark. It says you can continue listing as we post this item for you. So you can actually, you don't have to sit and wait for that to load. I'm just moving right on to Depop. So this happens sometimes on Depop. The maximum number of images used can be 8. So I think it's really important for me to make sure that the flaw is noticed. I don't think I need to have the picture where it says flare, so I'm gonna X that out. I don't think I need the picture where it shows how wide the hem is, so I'm gonna take that out. But I do think the flaw pictures are important, so those are the 8 pictures we're gonna use for Depop. And then we're a little bit over on characters. We're at 103, so I'm just gonna delete that last section there. And then we've got all of the things are the same. So we've got tags, condition, primary color, whatever. We need to add age, which these are modern. The source is pre-loved. The style, we're gonna go with casual. We're gonna go with boho. Why not? We've got the category is jeans. It's really simple on Depop. And then the size, we're gonna scroll down. There is no 18W, so we're just gonna hit 18. And then this is the funky part. Judy blue is not on the brand list for Depop. So we're just gonna put other. And then I'm gonna fill this part out on my own because my address will pop up in there. You're gonna fill out your location and stuff, and then you're gonna come down to parcel size. So for Depop, you always have to put parcel size. So it's gonna say under 4, under 8, under 12, under a pound, or under 2 pounds. For this situation, it's gonna be under 2 pounds because it's more than 1 pound. And then price is right. You just hit save, list on Depop, boom, done. So To be realistic, on one item, it probably takes me a collective 3 minutes, maybe a minute and a half on the eBay form and a minute and a half on the Vendu cross-listing. Like, I am clicking through this so incredibly fast because I do it every single day and I do it several times a day. So I'm just like click, 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 click. And that literally takes me 3 minutes. So yes, it may have taken me the entire day to photograph 30 plus items. But every day when I come into my office and sit down, it takes me 3 minutes to list one item. I might take a little bit longer to research price on something. So like if you take that kind of stuff into consideration, it really only takes me like 15 minutes to cross list 3 items a day. And that is literally it, you guys. That is my process. That is how I list. And so if you guys have ever been confused about how resellers list so many items a day so efficiently, I really hope that this video helped you. And guys, this took me over a year to figure out. It took me over a year to refine this process to be this efficient. So don't feel bad if you're a beginner reseller and your listing process is convoluted, because so is mine. That is why I made this video though, because again, everyone's process is gonna be super, super different. Like yours might not look like this, and I've seen so many different listing processes. I've never seen one that's the same. And that's why I started this video off by saying resellers are like snowflakes. We're all different. Like it's gonna depend on how much space you have, how much inventory you have, what kind of inventory you have. Like there are so many little nuances in there. Like it might take longer for you to research a like more rare item, and like it might take you longer to photograph a certain shirt because it's more pilly and it needs to be sweater shaved or something like that. You know, there are so many different variables that could make this take longer or take less time. And I just wanted to show you guys like a very realistic view of how listing actually goes for me, because I have been asked before, like, how do I do it? So that is what the purpose of this video was. I hope you guys found it useful. Just as a reminder, you'll get 50% off of RU, which is where I learned how to do most of this stuff, with the link in my description and the code TaylorJoe. Also, if you liked this video and you like reselling content, please consider subscribing. I come out with new videos a couple times a month. And if you liked this video, you might like this other one that I made about pretty much all of the items that I use for my business. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.